Hello and welcome to the GFMEDIA Gear Corner. My name is Ron Heerkens Jr. and I'm here with Goat Factory Media Entertainment giving you a review of stuff. Today, the first ever gear review, we're going to be talking about the Saucony Peregrine 10s. I picked up the Peregrine 10s a couple weeks ago from a local store called Musicbed. Took them out for a couple runs, put them through their paces to see how they're doing. I wish I could have gotten a couple more runs in, just kind of been dealing with some injury. The previous Peregrines, the ISOs, are what I've been running in since about October, November. And Peregrines in general have been my go-to trail shoes and something that I've been running in since probably version 2, version 3 maybe, somewhere in there. What I'm going to highlight today are some of the key features on the new 10s that are different from the ISOs, my initial impressions between the 10 and the ISO, and where I think this is going to take me for the future. First, Peregrine 10, 120 bucks. 4mm drop, same drop that they've had that I've liked in these shoes for quite some time. It's a neutral fit shoe, front stack, 23mm, up from the 18.5 in the ISOs. The rear stack, 27, up from 22.5 in the ISOs. Cool new features on this, and I just learned about this the other day, so this was completely new to me, because the bottom of the ISO and the bottom of the 10 are uniquely different. As you can see, the tread pattern is different, but also these wonderful little things, as you can see here, are made for a very specific purpose. For those who live in the East Coast or anywhere that there's snow, these are going to come in handy. On the outside, we have screw holes. That is right. They actually built in areas where you can know where it's safe to put a screw into. Up here in Rochester, we get a lot of snow, but that also leads to a lot of ice. And having the ability to put screws into shoes without putting them through your feet is quite ideal. We also have a couple drain holes here. So in springtime here, it gets very wet as all that snow is melting, the ground is saturated. So if you don't feel that the shoe is draining well, you actually have drain holes that you can drill out and make it drain a little bit better. My history with the draining on the Peregrines is I like how they drain. I think they're a very well designed shoe in general and drain very well. My typical combination is I wear a Dry Max Trail, the thick trail shoe or trail sock, and combined with these, I can run in wet shoes all day. But unlike many other shoes, I don't feel like there's water sloshing around on the inside of these. However, the biggest noticeable difference that I've found so far when these two shoes get wet, these feel heavy, these don't. Again, the ISOs feel really heavy when they're wet and the ISOs don't. I don't know if it's because of the different fabric they used or it is actually the way it's draining. Again, not enough runs to make a final decision on that. Some of my initial impressions between the two of these things, the ISO is a very heavy shoe compared to the 10. At least it feels that way. It's probably only a couple ounces of difference. But when I get this covered in mud and I get this covered in mud, I feel like I'm running in a ton of bricks with these, whereas these shed off the mud and I'm back to running on the trails, bouncing around and having fun and joy. So as you can also see, the upper has been completely redesigned. On the old ISO, you have a finger webbing system, and what this upper part here, which I'm going to talk about in a second. But let's look at the difference in the lacing system here. And the lacing system on the new 10, it is no more fingers. You have nice flat laces Nice solid design. And for those who run longer with their laces, they even have a nice little D-strap. Now, one of the biggest issues I've always had with the Peregrins, and this has affected the way I've approached these shoes in general, is that somewhere around about 120 to 150 miles, I get a nice blowout right here. Now that is because I have a wider forefoot, but I don't have a wide middle and rear foot. So finding a pair of shoes that work for me has been difficult. The Peregrins, for the most part, have worked for what I needed them to do. In the 6 or 7s, they kind of made a double layer. So when it, instead of blowing out on the outside, it would blow out on the inside, and the outside would stay attached. What I decided to do is kind of go from 11, which is my normal shoe, to 11.5 to kind of give me a little extra space. Pair that with the Dry Max shoe, and I get a pretty nice, comfortable fit, and the shoes haven't blown out yet. So that is a good thing. With the 10, we have a new addition. There is now a blowout guard. That is right. There is a blowout guard. Will it work? Will it last? I don't know. For some reason, I believe one of the earlier version of Peregrins had this, and where I would end up blowing out was right along the top of that. This feels more part of the fabric, almost like you took about 10 layers of fabric instead of one and combined them together. So whether it blows out or not, I don't know. I still went with the 11.5 to give me a little bit more forefoot room and more comfort. One thing that I've noticed is with the ISOs, I had the heel area back here. It's very uncomfortable. It's very cushioned, but it would dig into the back of my Achilles. That doesn't exist on the 10. It is pretty much straight, flat, very little cushion. So I have a little bit of heel play now. So I've always used the heel lock method here to kind of help do that. I do notice a little bit of sloppiness, so that may lead me to trying out the 11s again, but that won't be until I see how the blowout guard does. Whether that's the official name of it or not, I don't know, but sure looks like a blowout guard to me. Not there, there. As I said, I've got a couple runs in so far. I've really enjoyed running in the 10s. I think they are a light, fast shoe. Something happened with the ISOs that they stopped feeling light. I used to run in the Saucony Exodus when I went up into the Catskill region or anywhere there was a lot of rocks. And the Exodus, if you ran in them or you've seen them, they are built like a tank. They are meant for taking some major abuse, and I put them through the Catskills, through the Devil's Path area, and they definitely held up. I don't know what other shoes would have held up during that, but for what we put them through, they held up. The new Exodus are also built like a tank. These things are heavy and meant for rock running. They're extremely cushioned. They're very comfortable, but they're not ones that I'm going to take out on a 3 to 5 mile jaunt out on the trail. These are long haulers, and they're meant for long hauling. But the difference of what I'm talking about between the 10s and the ISOs is when the Peregrine switched to the ISO design, it felt like they kind of adapted what the Exodus felt like. And now the Exodus feel like they're a completely different shoe. So in effect, even though I have two of the same shoes, they are much different in their design, their fit, their form, their feel. I'm looking forward to it. And might I also add that it comes in black? I am so grateful that they finally made a shoe in black. I'm tired of bright, flashy shoes. I'm not a bright, flashy person, and having just black shoes that can just sit there and get mud covered, dirt covered, but you can't see me from 2 miles away. Is pretty great. But that's the Saucony Peregrine 10 out now. We'll give them a run. On a scale of 1 to 5, I'd probably give them a 4.5 right now. I don't have enough runs in them to say, hey, these are a 5 out of 5. I hope to do a follow-up review, and we'll see where that goes.